What's good, YouTube? Nova here, bringing you guys my first draft for the new June 12th ban list for Zoodiacs. Now, this is the build I've been kind of working on. I think it's really good. It's very consistent, obviously, because zoos are extremely consistent. And I really like this list a lot. It can do a lot of cool things. The combos, like the 1-card combos, the 2-card combos, is just unreal in this deck. So I'm gonna go through this list, but first off, let's take a quick look at this mat. Awesome zoo mat. So obviously, got to do this profile with the zoo deck with the zoo mat, right? So starting off, I'm still playing 2-wrap here. I mean, honestly, guys, if you're not playing 2-wrap here, I don't really know what you're thinking. The combo with Rat is just too good. Even if you just have to summon Rat itself, send the combo, and then just double Exceed Summon is really busted for 1 card, guys. And the combo just makes you go minus nothing unless the combo gets banished. But the fact that you can just make a pretty decent board field and then banish it if your opponent gets over it, and it didn't even cost you anything. It really didn't cost you that much, like anything, really, other than a little bit extra deck space. Now, next up, I'm playing 2 Thoroughblade. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't play Ram. I don't think Ram's that great. I know the combo, like, you know, you pop the Ram, summon back the Rat, and you do all this, and then you make, like, an extra, you use the new Chakanine, Xyz monster, you know, and then you special summon 2, and you make, like, a rank 4, right? Other than a Zoo on top of, like, a Dryden. Combo is not that great. His effect to destroy himself is kind of irrelevant. You might as well, if you're just special summoning a monster, you might as well just go straight to the Rat if you're going to pop it, because you're wasting material under that Dryden. So I don't know why you'd bother with it. Plus, I really like Thoroughblade anyway, because just pitching a card, drawing a new card is really good, especially if you did open the combo. If you open this combo in, like, Barrier, you've got a pretty big play still, even though it's you got a really big play, even though you do use a little bit more cards, you still have a lot of cards. You still have a lot of plays. Next up, for my last 3 zoos, I'm just playing 3 Whiptail. Obviously, Whiptail is the best. Whiptail by far is the best. I play 3 because there's just times when you need a 3rd that you run out of targets, and you just need a 3rd. Like I said, no Ram. I don't think it's that good. I find the whole back row negating a trap is kind of completely irrelevant in this format, when most things are just pretty much just negating the summon anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Next up, I'm playing the Predator Plant engine. Now, I think the Predator Plant engine is really good. Orthoros, it's not as good as Terror Top, obviously, but just the fact that Orthoros can search you an extra card is really, really big. Then obviously just the 1 Darling Cobra. And now I'm playing 3 Lone Fire Blossom. Now, a lot of people are like, okay, this card can be a dead card in your deck if you don't open it. But if you do open this in a monster, the combos can just go off. Because essentially you're digging, if you open this and an Orthoros, and that's your combo, it's essentially 7 cards out of an 8-card engine. You're going to dead draw maybe 1 Orthoros, but the amount of times you're going to dead draw it is a little bit less than you actually would normally see. But I understand if you do not see the Lone Fire Blossom first turn, I do understand that you run into the problem. But at the same time, if you don't use the Orthoros engine to go off with your zoos, because you really have a lot for going off with your zoos, that even if you don't use the Predator Plant engine, you can still utilize it later on in the duel. So I really like that engine, and I think the Lone Fire just makes it so much more consistent, as well as Orthoros needs to pitch for a monster for the effect, and I think having the extra targets really helps with that. Next up, I'm playing the Kaiju engine. I really feel like the Kaiju engine also helps this deck out. The 2 engines just make each other consistent, plus the Kaiju for removing stuff that this deck already has a problem getting over is really good, and I feel that's a good thing. So I'm playing 1 Gamma Seal, 1 Sticky String, 1 Dolgaran, and 2 of the Star Destroyer. I feel like I like the 5, and I like the 2 big guys. I do know that, like, you could play 5 different Kaijus, and that it's really good because you have 5 different targets, so you should at least hit 1 of your slumbers should go off at least once. but I've never had a problem getting off at least 2 of them, or well, the 2 anyway, since it's at 2. But there is times when you're playing 5 that you do open multiple. But also playing more of them goes back to the orthoros fact that you need the monsters to pitch. So actually playing a bunch of them isn't too worried because you can just pitch them for the orthoros effect if you have too many in your hand. So that is very nice as well. So 5 kaijus. Now for hand traps, I'm only playing 2 Ghost Ash and 1 Max C. I'm side decking the Ogre. I don't know if I really want to find the room for the Ogre. Like, I understand Ogre's really good, but when you're playing the Orthoros engine, I don't really want to see too many hand traps. I know it's hard to say that, yeah, you want to see hand traps, but if you run into a problem where you can only your only play is discard an Ash to go off, you're kind of sad because if your opponent stops that, you just wasted an Ash Blossom and you've wasted an Orthoros. So it's kind of like shit, like you just minus hard. So you don't really want to be able to pitching your hand traps, so that's why I don't play too many of them. So it's, I believe, like 21 to 22 monsters. So it's a big lineup, I know. But of course, like I said, Orthoros really needs that lineup. So I feel like that is the best way to go about it. Next up, I'm playing Triple Barrage. Barrage is pretty good, actually. I was kind of worried when I was testing it. I was worried that Barrage wasn't going to be that necessary. But after actually playing the game, if your first Orthoros play doesn't go off, then at least Barrage is a backup play, which is really, really strong. And then for the last card that works with the Zoo engine is the 2 Tenki. I like a lot of I like playing a pretty big Zoo engine, as well as with the Orthoros combos. You have a lot of good consistency in the deck, which is something that's really nice. Next up for the Kaijus, I'm playing 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. So obviously mass removal in this one card, as well as it gives you a big beater, and you can pop the monster you give to your opponent with Trident if you make it, which is going to mean if your opponent doesn't have back row to stop you and can't stop the plays, you're going to have a pretty well have a 30, you're going to deal like pretty much 6k and upwards to your opponent in that turn, which is really, really big. Now this deck is a 42 card deck, I must admit, but my only reason was because I wanted to play 2 Chalice, but I couldn't figure anything to drop, or I couldn't think of any of a second card to drop. So I figured, you know what, I'll just run a 42 card deck. It makes less chance of running into cards like Darling Cobra. So I was like, you know what, it's better. And also the fact that this card can just shut down monster effects and bump up your monster's attacks if you do end up needing to. I think this card's very versatile in the format. So I thought it was pretty neat. And then for other things, 2 Twin Twister. I like Twin Twister a lot. It's pretty good. Just pitch a card, pitch a card, pop 2. Especially with True Draco going around, I think this card's really good. But also, like, I already pay a lot of life points in this deck, so I don't really want to be playing Cosmic Cyclone. Next up, I'm playing Ultra Polymerization. I really like Ultra Polymerization. If you don't know what it does, basically when you go off with your combo with your Orthoros and your Darling Cobra, Cobra adds you Ultra. You banish you fusion summon with these 2 fusion summons. You pay 2,000 life points. You make Chimera Rafflesia, and then you banish the Ultra Polymerization to summon these 2 back, and then you make the Invoker, which is really, really cool. The fact that you can just make an extra fusion 2,500 beater that can still banish level 7 or lower monsters, as well as when it battles, it takes 1,000, it adds 1,000 to itself, and it takes 1,000 from the opponent. So your opponent's monster literally needs to be like 40 or 55. Yeah, like 55. No, 45 just to crash with this thing. So it's pretty sweet. You know what I mean? Like the fact that your opponent's monster, like this thing, like Chimera Rafflesia becomes a big threat to your opponent. And then I'm playing just 1 Raigeki to round off. So I also like mass removal in the deck with the Kaiju Slumber and the Raigekis, because I feel like big board wipes this format is big. I still play the combo. I still feel like the combo is one of the best cards. I understand that it's harder to get at because you're not really focusing on that rat summon as much, but I still feel like it's a good card to have. If you do open it with the plays, you can still at least at least summon Thoroughblade, pitch it, or just even set it if you're going first. Activate this equipped Thoroughblade from deck, and then it's already in your grave ready to go. I think that's a really quick play, a really, really good play. And the fact that you banish it, put 5 monsters back from 5 zoo cards from your deck, from your grave back into your deck, and then draw 1 card. You don't go minus if you use 1 card. And then for the rest of traps, 1 warning, staple, obviously. 2 deep prison. You don't need 3. True Draco is kind of a pain sometimes. So you don't really want to be playing this. Like, you side this out every time against True Draco. But obviously for the format, like just with other decks like Wind Witch Invoked, the different, this deck, like a mirror match in general, you still need them in there. So it's very big. And then I'm playing just 3 strikes to round up the traps. So 42 card deck. I really feel like this is like the most competitive version that this deck can be at. But of course, you know, everyone says that about their deck. Next up, obviously, for extra deck, 1 Chimera Flesia. Obviously, just the combos that this card is really big. I mean, this card doesn't really add to the play. Like, you don't need to make this card. But I feel if you have the ability just to make an extra 25 beater that can still banish something that's a level equal to or lower than it, as well as still being that big 35 when it attacks and weakening the opponent's monster, it makes your opponent really have to deal with this card with like a banish effect or like destroy it by battle, or destroy it by card effect, just things like that, just to remove it or bounce it back to the deck. So it takes a resource from your opponent for a little threat. That's like not really a big deal that you can make pretty easily. And then for the rank 3s, in case you do end up using your Zoo Engine, I play 1 Grand Pulse. I like Grand Pulse, sitting him in defense at 28. That can basically remove a card. I believe it's a spell and trap. Yes, it is. It's very big because the fact that you can still just be like, okay, pop an extra back row per turn is really big. And if you don't use your Zoo Engine, then you might as well just have another option. Same with Breaksword. I like Breaksword in the deck as well if you are playing, let's say you do have Tanky on board. Let's say you have Tanky on board, you add a Whiptail, and you have Barrage, and you still have the Orthros, like the Predaplant engine. You can still go Predaplant, and then still make your fusion monster, make this, activate the Tenki or add the Whiptail or whatever, right? And then you can just pop the Tenki and pop an extra card. It's just the plays you can do with these guys, just the things you can do with them in just situations is really nice, as well as just Breaksword on its own as an extra removal is really good. And then obviously the 1 Invoker, because Invoker's Invoker. I can't say that I wouldn't play this deck if Invoker wasn't here. Like, if Invoker wasn't here, this deck wouldn't be that consistent. You'd have to play a lot more. Zoos, but obviously since the Invoker's there, you can just play a rank 3 engine. That's really good for the deck and really makes big boards. And then for the combo, I still use the Jack-o'-9 sometimes, and this is really my reasoning because I really feel like Mirror Match to this deck doesn't have a problem if you're playing this Kaijus, because you just activate Kaijus when they have a board, and then you just clear their board, which is pretty much the biggest thing for this deck. Like, instantly loses if there's big board wipe. It just kills this deck. And I feel like True Draco already gives this deck a little bit of trouble. So I'm playing the Tornado Dragon. If you're playing that, you can make Chimera Flesia, Invoker, Tornado Dragon, and Trident first turn. This plus Trident can pop the first 2 diagrams. So essentially, it's this card. If you have this in Trident, or even this in double Trident, it's still fine. But or even like double Trident instead of this is really good. But the fact that you can just deal with the first 2 Tridents is already really big. Because if you can just remove 2 Tridents or 2 diagram, what's the point? Like, your opponent needs to play a 3rd diagram to get their searches going, right? So I think it's good. But, you know, this could be any extra deck monster. I just picked Tornado Dragon because I like Tornado Dragon and he looks really cool. Plus, that's the thing that I was saying with the diagram and True Draco giving this deck a problem. There's a little bit of a problem, but it's not bad. Next up for the Zoos, I'm playing 10 Zoos, so a big number, but my reasoning for this is I don't want to put so many cards back for combination. So I figured if I just played a couple extra cards in the extra deck, I could essentially get around not having to put like 5 extra deck monsters and rats back into your deck. You could just worry about putting a couple extra deck monsters, maybe a rat, or if a couple Whiptails, whatever you really want, back into the deck. so you can do the combo over again. So on Borbo, honestly, he's the first one I go into in the first, and then obviously you detach the rat, special summon another one, and then you just exceed on top of them. I'm playing 2 Chakanine. Sometimes one's not enough, and as well as you keep one in the extra deck for later on when you do use your combo, so you can reuse the engine a second time. As well as the combo with this card is very nice, so that's good. So that's pretty good. 2 Tiger Mortar. You use the effects honestly a couple of times. Like if you have to pitch the one of the whip tails for your Orthros, you might as well just detach the Borbo, because Borbo itself is just a relevant detach target. It's just there as an overlay material for Dryden. But if you have the Whiptail in the grave, you might as well just detach it and switch in, so this card at least gains power, as well as it just gives an extra monster, right? Or it just gives you an extra like 1,200 attack points, and it gives you the Vanish effect. 2 Broadwell, you don't really need more than 2. I found out that you use 2 usually, but when you combination, you've already probably used most of your Whiptails, so you only really need to put one of these guards back. On the odd occasion, if you don't need to, if you do need them, you do, but you don't usually do. And then the one I feel like you need the most at 3 is Triple Dryden. I really like making first turn double Dryden and just sitting there. And the fact that if you've already made 2, the fact that you already have to put 2 back into the extra deck is already painful as it is. So I play the third one in the extra deck, so I only have to put 1 back, but I still have 2 for the next combo. And then that gives you the ability to put back an extra Broadwell if you need it, an extra Tiger Mortar if you need it, sometimes an extra Chakanine if you need it. It just really gives you a lot of options and a lot of plays with having the extra Dryden. So I figured, you know what, I'll just max out on this card because, like, why not? You know what I mean? This card is probably one of the best cards for zoos in general. So why not play it at 3, right? So that's my Zoodiac list. So I'm having a lot of fun with this deck. Obviously, like, I want to try it, you know, so I'm going to test a lot more with it. If anything changes, I'll give you guys an update. But this deck is probably one of the most fun decks. I know a lot of people rip on zoos, like, oh, it's so linear. The combos are so stale. You go plus for no reason. But even if you play the deck, you can't say it's a really fun deck. You can't say it's not a fun deck just to play in general. It has a lot of cool things. But, of course, once Link comes out, then this deck's going to get a little bit nerfed. So that's unfortunate. But love this zoo mat. It's very nice. So, but anyway, guys, if you have any suggestions for my deck, leave it in the comment section below. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.